Luchanko is interesting only because it continues to reinforce my strongly held belief based on one rookie game and one preseason game that he 100% belongs in the NHL permanently and should stay here forever. That said, do you think, Charlie O'Connor,
yes,
take off your journalist hat,
okay,
put on your person hat, and do you think it would be detrimental to Jett Luchanko's long-term NHL career to become an NHLer at the age of 18?
I do legitimately worry that his ceiling would be lowered if he makes the NHL at age 18. Or in the, like, if we're going to make the Sean Couturier comparison, or it will take longer than it would have otherwise for him to reach that ceiling. I do worry about that, honestly, yes.
So here's my question, because this is the kind of stuff that I wonder about. So, like, his juniors team is not good. So I ask myself, okay, what kind of development is this highly skilled teenager going to get playing on a bad team that probably has a bad coach with a bunch of bad teammates? It's not going to win a lot of games.
Let me cut in a little bit here. When we say that Guelph is a bad team, it's not horrendous. They made the playoffs last year. Yes, they got swept in round 1, but we're not talking about a bottom of the table team. They are probably
So
more,
they're not the Ducks.
It's probably more accurate to call them a mediocre OHL team.
Okay. I'll give you that. So he's on a mediocre team with mediocre teammates and a mediocre coaching staff. I feel like the thing that we always say happens to players that get rushed is that they develop bad habits because they can't keep up in the NHL and they have to cheat in order to just get by because they probably don't belong there. What if he just belongs there? Like, what if he can keep up? What if he doesn't have to cheat? What if he doesn't develop bad habits because he's got John Tortorella coaching him and he will literally not allow you to develop a bad habit? Like, part of me kind of thinks, and I've said this a million times over the course of our time together, that if you're an NHL player, you're an NHL player. The cooking in the AHL or cooking wherever you're going to cook them, in my mind, I don't really think turns a not NHL player into an NHL player.
I agree with that.
And I don't think if you're an NHL talent, it can ruin your career. I do think there's situations like Rasmus Ristolainen where he was rushed and he was coached poorly on a bad team that allowed him to develop bad habits. Like, that can't happen. It seems to me like the ideal situation is with John Tortorella, like, literally throwing you into a room with no windows if you start having bad habits. Like, he will simply not allow you to have them. So, like, part of me just wonders, like, if this kid is this good, and this is all, I think, really dependent on how he looks in the remaining preseason games. And also, I really think they got to give him some of these regular season games because that's real life, and then we'll really see. Because I think it'll be immediately apparent. If he's actually not up to snuff NHL level, we'll see it immediately in real games that really count against real NHL hockey players. Like, it's not going to be hard to see. But if he does play 9 games, and if he looks like he belongs the entire time, and if he can keep up, and if he's not cheating, and if John Tortorella sees all of this and thinks that he belongs on his team, I have a hard time believing that we're going to ruin this kid by keeping him in the NHL.
So here is the argument. Here's the argument that I'll make, because I see where you're coming from with regards to habits and things like that. I 100% agree with you that if you are looking to ensure that Jett Luchanko doesn't pick up bad habits, this coaching staff is not going to allow that to happen. This NHL coaching staff, that they are not going to allow him to be cheating for offense. They are not going to be allowing him to not play a hard game.
Right.
They're going to push him to play with pace, to do all of those things, because they are a coaching staff that rides their players hard. The Flyers take pride in that. If if they put Jett Luchanko into a 3C role to start the year, and Jett Luchanko plays a 3C type of game, which is, safer, a little more chip and chase, don't make big mistakes because you're not going to get 20 minutes. You're only going to get 12 or 13.
Sure.
They're going to make sure that he doesn't fall into bad habits. And if he does, he's not going to play. That is true. I'm not worried about them messing up Luchanko in terms of him messing up regularly because he's in the NHL and the coaches can't get through him. I'm not worried about that. My point is that I don't think this is the best place for him to develop the offensive side of his game.
Okay.
It's less about ruining him and more about if you throw him into the deep end, he's not going to be as concerned about learning how to make the most creative pass. He's going to be more concerned about how the heck do I survive when a Rasmus Ristolainen type is on my back trying to take the puck from me. That what you risk doing, in my opinion, is you risk Luchanko doing his best to survive as an 18-year-old and not worrying as much about creating chances and goals and scoring points. I would rather him be in a situation where his focus can be primarily on making creative passes, gaining more confidence in the ability to weave through the offensive zone and create controlled zone entries and making moves in front of the net, because it's a lot easier to do those things in the OHL versus the NHL. So I'm less concerned about him getting ruined in the sense of him then becoming a bust. I worry that if you put him in the NHL now, and this isn't necessarily how it's going to play out, he could develop those things on the fly. But I worry that if you put him in the NHL now, that it makes it more likely that he learns all the good habits and then tops out as a good third-line center. And I want more than a good third-line center. I want him to have another year doing all the fun stuff, trying the Michigans and making dangles and dekes and difficult passes that aren't going to work all the time. If he, let me put it this way. If Jett Luchanko tries in the first period of game 2, if he tries 2 difficult passes and neither of them work and both of them end up get him sent the other way, John Tortorella is going to be like, kid, you can't do that. It's not that no one is allowed to do it, but you're not allowed to do it because you clearly can't do it at this level. And then what's he going to be incentivized to do? Not do it as much. He's not going to yell at Mitchkov for that because he knows Mitchkov can make those passes.
Right.
If you put Luchanko in a spot where the coach, and I'm not even giving John Tortorella theoretical crap about this. No, John Tortorella's looking to win games. And if you've got an 18-year-old trying to make flashy plays and it's not working, he's going to tell the 18-year-old, I'm trying to win a hockey game, stop doing that. Whereas in the OHL, no one's going to tell him to stop doing that. They're going to tell him, keep doing it because you're literally our only guy who can score points. So keep trying those things. And my thing is that you give him a year of that, of doing that. Then next year, he's going to be better at those things when he gets to the NHL or gives the NHL another shot. That's where I'm coming from.
I mean, that's all fair. And I do think that there's not a chance in hell that he's up here. I think that what they're probably going to do is they're going to give him the 9 games to throw Torts a bone because, as you said yesterday,
maybe
he wants him here. At
least this version of him.
Yeah, and then they're just going to be like, all right, we're not burning a year of his ELC. This is still, a find out year.
Right.
So we're not going to burn a year, so we're sending him back. I mean, and that's probably a fine outcome. I certainly don't think that he's going to be ruined in any way by going back to juniors. I just think that, eventually he's going to have to learn how to do all of those things that you just described in the NHL. Eventually it's going to be harder to do all of them. And he's going to have to learn how to do them against harder players.
He will.
And I just remember looking at that lineup that you had up on the screen yesterday. The third line is better than it's been in a really long time.
Yeah. And we don't know the exact makeup of it, but
but
the wingers are good.
There's going to be a really good winger on the third line.
Yes.
Whoever it is, one of them is going to be really good at least. And there it is. So I mean, if you're centering Brink and Farabee, it's not like you're not going to have opportunities to do things because these guys know how to score goals. And it's been a while, I feel like, since the Flyers had a third line that I can look at and be like, oh yeah, they can definitely go out there and score goals on a pretty regular amount of pace. So that's part of it for me, is that I think we have an opportunity because we finally have enough players that are good that can do things. And also, I just really want fun, Charlie.
Fun is good.
And Jett's so fun.
He does appear to be fun. He's very, very fast.
I guess
he earns the name.
I'll enjoy the 9 games. And hopefully they're good. It would be kind of hilarious if they put him in like the first NHL game. He's like, "Oh, no, I can't do this."
Well, so here's a question.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and to be clear, I think this is a fascinating debate because I don't necessarily think either one of us is like 100% correct.
No.
I think you can hold these opinions and like just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they give Jett Luchanko the 9 games, and he passes the eye test. He's keeping up with the pace. He's not getting, physically outworked and outmuscled out there. He looks like an NHL player. He's got 2 points. The offense isn't there yet.
Yeah.
But like say his underlying numbers, let's say, his expected goals, his Corsi, they're all above 50%. He is not getting overwhelmed. He's just not scoring. The offense isn't there. Do you keep him because you say, still a good third line center. He's driving play. He's doing the little things. Or do you say, no, we're sending him back because we want you to foster the offense? Where do you fall in that situation?
So I think if we looked at any player over 9 games that was driving play and had really good underlying numbers, but just wasn't getting the puck in the back of the net, I feel like we did this with Forster. You say like, eventually it's going to start going in. Eventually he's going to start scoring goals. And I feel like if there were no option but to keep him, my logical thought process would be if he looks good and the numbers are good, eventually the puck's going to start going in. That said, I think that I feel that like I might be closer to what John Tortorella feels, and I feel like you're definitely closer to where Briere and Jones are.
Right.
And so I feel like for Briere and Jones to be convinced to come over to this side, he would have to blow the doors off against actual NHL competition. And 2 points in 9 games, regardless of your underlying numbers, not blowing anything off anything. So I think that would just be the end of it. But I mean, I kind of feel like my expectation is that it doesn't really matter what he does. Like if he's 11 points in 9 games, I don't think that Danny Briere is going to want to keep him up here.
See, I have more confidence that if he stands out the rest of camp, and then if he earns a spot and then he gets the 9 games, if he stands out in those 9 games, I think they would keep him.
You think so?
I do. Yeah, I absolutely think they would.
Right.
I just am skeptical he's going to stand out.
Yeah. It'd be fun if he did.
It would be real fun.
Yeah.
It would indeed be real
I'm excited to find out, Charlie.
We all silly like the mayor.